Excuse me. Mm. Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Monica. Hi, Marianne. Oh, Monica. Just waiting to go live in just a moment. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Let's see, I'll probably kick this off in about another minute and a half, 2 minutes, just to see a few more people log in for this Facebook Live event. So let's see, it's about 2.5 minutes to noon. Okay. Okay, well, hello everybody. My name's Kat Barber, and I'm so grateful to be here for this Facebook Live event. I'm with Michigan Associates of Acupuncture in West Bloomfield, Michigan, and collectively our team is offering Facebook Live events at noon throughout the next two to 3 weeks. So please go to our website, or you can click on the link at our Facebook page, Acupuncture in Michigan, to check out the schedule and see who's coming up next. In addition, our team is also offering complimentary telesupport or telehealth to patients. There's information as well on our Facebook page as well as the website. So please take a look at that. We're here to support the community, and we're all in this together. So I just want to start off and say I've never done a Facebook Live event, so this is all new territory to me, so bear with me. But I wanted to talk to you today a little bit about the 5 elements and how they are manifesting right now with everything that's going on in the world, and especially with the stress and anxiety and fear of the unknown, all associated with how everything has been turned upside down for us with the spread of the COVID-19 virus. But I'm here to talk to you a little bit about how you can work with these elements, how they express both physically and emotionally, as well as psychologically in all of us, and how you can find some grounding and balance with the 3 most prevalent, as I identify them, elements that are presenting right now. So just wanted to talk to you a little bit about that. So basically, in Chinese medicine, there are the 5 elements which correspond with nature. And these 5 elements are seen as the building blocks of the universe. And these 5 elements, which include wood, Fire, earth, metal, and water all reflect a cycle of change seasonally. So each element has a corresponding, I guess you could say, season. And I'm just going to briefly go through this just to identify. So wood corresponds with spring, fire with summer, earth with late summer. That time period between, obviously, late August and right before moving into fall. Metal is fall, and then water is winter. So you can't have one season without the other. Each one transitions and creates the next season. It's the same with the 5 elements. So those paired with each corresponding season reflect in all human beings. So each of these elements has a paired organ system as well. And, for the sake of a Facebook Live event and just kind of putting this all together and in the most simplistic of terms, I'm just going to touch on one specific yin organ. There are 2 paired organs with systems with each element, but I'm going to just, for the sake of being brief, deal with each organ system. That's the yin organ. So, for example, with the element of wood, that is represented by liver. With the element of fire, that's the heart. Earth connects with spleen, and metal connects with the lungs. Water connects with kidneys. And since human beings are a reflection of the seasons, you can see that there's an embodiment of relationships through our internal expression as what relates to the seasons. So we just moved from winter into spring. Most recently, what was it? The vernal equinox was last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. I'm losing track of time. So we've moved from a winter water element into a spring wood element. But there's so much water going on right now, and I will explain that and how it's manifesting in the world and internally as well in human beings. So just for a little bit further clarification, each person's physical and mental constitution is deemed as a constitutional type, and it can be described in balance and harmony with the elements. And we'll take a look at how that manifests physically and emotionally. So I just wanted to, and please let me know if you have questions. This is a crash course in a very condensed period of time on 5 element theory, and it takes many years and a lifetime of study by my colleagues to understand this and really incorporate this into our lives and see it for what it is. So I've already identified the elements, as well as their corresponding seasons, as well as their corresponding organ systems. In addition, each element and each organ system manifests a specific emotion. And this is where it's going to play into how we're manifesting our emotions of fear, anxiety, grief, uncertainty, worry at this time. So wood expresses anger, or its affinity for the emotion of anger. Fire is joy. Earth would be worry. Metal is grief or loss. And water is fear of the unknown. And if you kind of break down the seasonal cycle, and you want to look at it from, this is metaphorical, but this is also of the 5 elements in nature. You can't have fire without wood. So we're going to start with wood. We're in the spring season. We're going to start with the wood element. Wood is going to fuel fire. Can't have fire without wood to fuel it. Fire then creates earth, which means that you need the sunshine you need for growth, for potential. And you need that sunlight and that fire to create the abundance of what earth has to hold. Then afterwards, earth, which would be a late summer, that holds and contains metal. And metal are the nutrients and the essential minerals that are needed, that the earth needs to hold and use for food for plants. And then from the earth, we go into the metal season or fall, and metal is what enriches water. So you can't have, you need the minerals that are in the water that would help with the growth of a plant. So if you think of it as a plant with its roots in the earth, it absorbs minerals through water that it needs to keep it nourished so that it can grow and move up roots and branches all the way towards the sky or towards heaven. Please let me know if this doesn't make sense or if I need to clarify, but just wanted to give you that metaphor and so that you can see in nature what this means, and then we can apply that to our emotions and physical state. And then water, in turns, nourishes wood. You can't have good, healthy plants, roots, and stalks grow if they're not nourished or if they're not getting water. Of course, we know they will die. So that is just a little touch of what each of the elements engenders or creates with every season and the next element. And I want to talk about the three specific elements right now that we're all dealing with. And since we all embody all of the 5 elements, there are 3 right now that are really in, a heightened state. And this is just my personal opinion in identifying these 3 elements, but that would be water, which is connected to the kidneys, wood, connected to liver, and metal, which is connected to lung. And I'm going to just break down each element, give you some examples, and then we'll work on a couple of tips and some ways of finding balance as well as support with these elements. So I'm going to take water, since we just moved out of the water winter cycle, but we're still really in it because water is all about the thermal temperature. If you think about water, what is it? It's usually cool. Obviously, if you boil it, it can be hot, but it's cool or cold. The nature of the temperature cold is about contraction, ultimately freezing water. And this is connected with the kidneys and the emotion of fear. And what is fear? Fear is of the unknown. And boy, are we deeply embedded in the fear of the unknown right now. I mean, this is such a great time of uncertainty. We have no idea what will happen next. And this is the time where fear is manifesting everywhere all the time. And, we're being inundated with news, and we're in, shelter in place. And so there is this collective energy and fear that is now expressing itself within us and around us. But to understand how water does manifest and how to ground and balance that is a wonderful thing that a tool that you can use daily. So you think about if there's fear of the unknown, basically there's a virtue attached to the kidney organ system and the element of water, and that is wisdom. So if you face the fear and you delve deep and summon up the willpower to transform fear, that will be transformed into wisdom. And it's all about not trying to deplete resources, because that's what fear does. Like you're constantly going, your mind is ruminating, spinning, there's anxiety, and what does that do? That fatigues us, that creates a lot more stress and higher cortisol levels in the body, and therefore that can really deplete our resources. So this is a quote from that, and I'll be referring to my mentor Lonnie Jarrett, who is a 5-element master. The spirit of the kidneys, which is the willpower, is what we tap into, and then we cultivate the wisdom in the face of the unknown. And that's what we're doing right now, and this is what we would attempt to do. So a couple of examples of excessive fear would be, it would manifest as anxiety, and it can prevent us from tapping into that potential that we need to right now. Another example of what a lack of fear would be recklessness. And that could be embodied in, just constantly depleting repetitively our inner resources, and that will just feed into the fear. And then we would experience burnout, fatigue, and just feeling stuck or frozen in life. Some more physical symptoms that I wanted to share with you about how fear manifests through the water element. That would be shortness of breath. Just think about that. Fatigue, because if you're in a fearful state, it just depletes your resources and drains you. Adrenal weakness, as well as some other physical manifestations like low back pain, weakness in the legs, and in the knees. And these are just a few examples. There's many more. But I'm just trying to use what might be relevant or what some people are experiencing at this time. Emotional symptoms, I've already discussed anxiety a little bit, but there's that paranoia, that collective and individually that we can observe and witness around us, that feeling of being overwhelmed, just, feeling like you don't know what to do. We're just on overload and overwhelmed. Anxiety along with panic attacks, and just feeling cold, guarded, and insecure during this time. So another quote from Lonnie Jarrett that I love is that wisdom is the virtue that empowers us to stand firmly in the face of the unknown, facing our fears, which I think is really beautiful and so prescient at this time. And we can all use that as a mantra to help cultivate wisdom and willpower. So what to do to help balance this fear? I know that we're all on this shelter, not all of us, but a lot of us are in, self-imposed social distancing, and as well as shelter in place, or pretty close to shelter in place. We need to take advantage of the time to rest and really recharge. I mean, if ever there was a time, this is the time, even though it almost seems like, we don't want to do that. This is a time to do it, because we've got the kidney organ system and the fear now colliding with the wood element and the spring. And so I'm going to transition from there into how that would manifest. But in addition to resting and just taking good care, also meditation. I use Headspace. I'm constantly searching new meditation apps, either with guided or group, or even if you can't do that because there is too much agitation or fear, you could do a movement meditation. Just move your body in a space in your home, stretch out, move your arms and legs, turn on some music, or there's some other resources that I can share later on our Facebook page, and so that you have a little bit more information on that. And then just really working with warmed cooked foods that really help tonify and support the kidneys. So I'm looking at like kale, kidney beans, lots of different beans, berries. Lamb is a wonderful option if you do eat meat, for tonifying and nourishing the kidneys. And I can also post a list of different foods that can help with supporting these different organ systems. So from water in the kidneys, I'm now going to move into where we are now. We're in spring, even though it's kind of hard to believe. And we are in the wood element. And that has a very specific temperature or climate quality that's associated with wind. And that is associated with the liver. So we've got wood, spring, liver, and it's also the emotion of anger, frustration, and depression. So if you look at what's going on with the wood element, it's all about growth and being connected to the earth and moving up and growing. I mean, that's a plant or a tree. That's its main purpose in its entire existence, is to just grow and grow towards the sun. So it's about that growth and flexibility and being firmly rooted. But there's also some other attributes about planning and decision making, and this applies to the liver organ system. It also has a vision and perspective on what's going on currently and in our lives. And when this is compromised, especially by external events that are changing fast and furious, like what's going on now, this has a huge impact on the liver's, just the liver's quality and lightness of being able to move through emotions. And that's about emotional health and well-being. And it gets stagnated or blocked, and then there becomes anger, frustration, and sometimes ultimately depression about what we can't control. And that has a lot to do with the liver. And I mean, everybody's experiencing it to some degree. And so those are the emotions that a lot of people are experiencing. So, yes, when growth is blocked, anger can arise, frustration because you want to do something, you want it a certain way, and you feel like something is blocking or inhibiting you from being able to do that, and it creates tension throughout the body, physically and emotionally. Some physical manifestations of that would be vertigo and dizziness. A lot of people are experiencing that at this time of year. Headaches, migraines, high blood pressure, digestive issues. That's a big one with just stress gut has a lot to do with it. Bloating, gas, a lot of stiff muscles, cramping, muscle twitches, and stiff neck and shoulders is another big one for liver. I guess you could call it liver stagnation, or when the liver is compromised out of frustration, anger, or depression. And the big one is like this tight constrainment in the diaphragm. So this has a lot to do with the liver as well as the rib cage, and being able to, we'll go over that too, because this will flow very nicely into the metal element. So it really can be a tight diaphragm, which I know a lot of people are feeling, a tight sternum, a lot of pressure. Okay, we already talked about emotional symptoms, but also irritability, because the anxiety, the frustration, the anger leads to irritability. And there's a lot of indecision. I mean, it's really hard to make a decision when we don't know what's going on, going back to the fear. And just this buzzing nervous tension that I think a lot of people are feeling at this point. So one thing that I can't tell you enough of, and I really am trying to incorporate this into my routine right now, is some time of exercise or movement. I mean, exercise is what helps to flush out that tension and stagnation that's associated with the wood element and with the liver organ system. I mean, even if it's just a small, 10 minutes and then working into it, but that helps to move. It helps to increase blood flow, which decreases inflammation, and it helps to really support healthy liver function. Another suggestion would be, eating as healthy as possible and avoiding greasy food, fat foods, fry foods, excessive caffeine, alcohol. I know it can seem almost counterproductive or intuitive because we're all kind of hunkering down and really kind of retreating and still trying to strive to maintain connection, and to turn to something like sugar or junk food would be an easy go-to, but that can really tax the liver, and then that can really create even more anger, frustration, and depression. I'm also going to be doing an acupressure, exercise to help support the kidney, liver, and organ systems and their respective wood, water, and metal elements. But that will be coming up shortly. And then I just want to transition into the third element that is associated with the fall. So it's kind of out of sync. We've got, water and kidneys with winter. We've got wood and liver with spring. And then there's the metal, which is the element of fall. And it's associated, organ is the lungs, and that is a big one for what's going on. I mean, think about what's happening, how this virus is manifesting on a physical level, with upper respiratory distress and dysfunction. And so working with the metal element can really help open up and really help create movement and health and flow between all three elements. So just to give you a little information on the, environmental quality of the metal element would be dryness. So you think about like metal expressing itself in nature would be leaves. So the leaves fall from the tree, everything becomes dry. That's when the weather's drier. We don't have that blast of heat from summer, and we're transitioning into winter and into cold. So you're going through this dry period, and this expresses minerals. Metal can express in very different ways too, as a structure for mineral, which is needed by human beings and every living plant or animal, because it makes up the inner structure and value of all of life. And you think about what minerals do for our bones and tissues. It gives them value. It makes them strong. it creates this inner strength and stability. Also in autumn or fall with the dryness, this is like the passing of a season, and we're looking at how this is moving from harvesting and collecting and then recycling into the next season. And this all has to do with the lung organ system, because dryness tends to invade the lungs, with everything from a dry, itchy throat to dry nose, dry cough, and just dryness in general, dry skin, because the skin has an affinity with the lung organ system. So if you think about moisture and how that would help draw quality into the lungs and release what no longer serves us, that's what the lungs needs. It thrives on moisture. And you think about what is essential and what is not essential. The lungs take in what they need, which is oxygen, separates the oxygen and the carbon monoxide, and it releases the carbon monoxide, which it no longer serves us. And that's the lungs' function and virtue of quality and finding worth and value and really taking in what we need and letting go what we don't. And that's something that's so important right now. And it's my mantra. Daily, multiple times a day, I need to take in what I need and let go of what no longer serves me. In addition, we think about the lungs also create this barrier, which is called the immune system. In Western medicine or medical terminology, it's the immune system, but it creates this protective barrier that really helps the body fight off pathogens and illnesses. And that's a big deal. And that's a focus of keeping the lungs and your metal element healthy. Obviously, physical respiratory symptoms and problems are a manifestation. Like I said, asthma, wheezing, shortness of breath, dry cough, chronic or repeated or recurrent upper respiratory infections, bronchitis, fatigue, allergies, anything that has to do with this whole area of the lungs, and upper respiratory health. And then the emotional aspect of the metal element in the lungs is that there's the dryness embodies this grief or loss. It's also, you see it as in melancholy, because it's like something of value has been taken away. And so when the lungs are dry and you think about receiving air and bringing in this value and this worth, that has a lot to do with feeling this loss or grief. In addition to that, there's a lot of isolation, issues with self-worth and loneliness, something we're all experiencing right now, but we're all in this together. So it's good that we have this connection, that we know that we can use this as a resource to be able to support us. So the opposite of having really dry lungs would be having, like, too much dryness can create heat, and that creates phlegm in the lungs. So that can be an issue. And phlegm is actually an embodiment in Chinese medicine of grief. It is congealed fluids along with a dryness in the lungs that turns into phlegm, and then the phlegm gets stuck, and that is a physical representative of grief. But that's something that we can work on with this next acupressure technique that I want to show you. So the liver and the lungs have a very unique and very intrinsic relationship. And it's all about inspiration and aspiration. The lungs are about inspiration, the liver's about aspiration. So inspiration is worth taking in what's essential and letting go of what no longer serves us. And then aspiration about perspective and growth, decision making, moving forward. So the way these two are connected, and what I'd like to do right here and show you a couple of acupuncture points, but we're going to do acupressure. So in the very top corner, left and right, bilateral, right below, I guess it would be right below about 2 inches. And this is something that I can put up a picture of for better demonstration at a later time on our Facebook page. About 1.5 inches, 2 inches down, there is a very special lung point called Central Treasury, which is such a cool way to think of that. It's like this is your central treasury. This is like of the highest value and worth. It's your lungs. It's what you need to distinguish between the external and your internal, and for life and breath. So this is all about empowering inspiration and essence and connection to that. And it draws in quality and releases what is no longer of value. So if you put your fingers right about here, and you can gently press. You can do this as many times as you want. Take some deep breaths in. You could do a 4, 7, 8 count if you wanted to, with 4 breaths in. Hold for 7, if that's possible. And then exhale for 8. A couple rounds of those. But that really helps to open up and connect the lungs and open up the diaphragm and relax all of these intercostal muscles that are really tense and constricted. So in addition to that, at the same time, there is an area that is the highest point on the liver channel. There's a very specific point, liver 14, which is called Gate of Hope, another amazing connection. And I'm going to just show you a specific zone and lean back. And then I can also post the exact area of where the point is so that you can practice this at home. But this area right here is the Gate of Hope, and this empowers aspiration. So that connection between inspiration and aspiration, central treasury, Gate of Hope, this opens up a tight chest and diaphragm. It harmonizes these intense emotions we're feeling, and it really empowers a grounded perspective of where we are in this moment. So you can just gently press on this area, on the ribs, and like I said, I will put up a very specific picture of where this is located, and just gently do a 4, 7, 8, couple rounds of the 4, 7, 8 breathing if you'd like, with an inhalation on 4. You hold for 7, and then exhale for 8. And you can do that multiple times a day, and you can really feel that energy is moving out of the diaphragm, and you're getting more grounded, and it's really connecting to help balance the fear, the grief, as well as the uncertainty and frustration and depression of what's going on. The last point I wanted to use is oh my gosh, what is it called? It's called CV17, and I cannot remember the name. Oh my gosh, what its name it translated from Pinyin into English. But anyways, it's right over the sternum. I mean, and this is a place that I've been feeling a lot of pressure, and it's a confluent point. It's right over your heart and your lungs. I mean, this is such a tender, vulnerable area. So if you would go right between, for both men and women, and I'll post a picture of this so that you can find this accurately. It's like right between your breasts, right between the nipples, right there, dead center in the sternum. And this one is a great one for completely syncing the lungs, the breath, the rate and rhythm of the heart. Oh, it's called Primordial Child. Just remembered it, Primordial Child. And it opens up the diaphragm. And you think about what it's doing. This connects the lungs, the kidney, the heart, the liver together. It helps to address fear, grief, anxiety, depression, all at the same time. And it makes you realize that you do have control over what's going on internally, and it can really help with lung support, kidney support, and liver support, both physically and as well as I was explaining psycho-emotionally. So please let me know if I can, answer any questions, or if you have any future questions, please feel, my husband's telling me my dog Gal is barking at me, great, from home. But just wanted to be able to share this with you in these very intense times, but just know that we're all connected. We are all in this together, and we have some tools and resources that can really help us, transform the fear of the unknown to wisdom, and try to stay grounded and, work through some very tense emotions, and really transform grief into feeling that you are taking in nourishing yourself and you're taking in what is absolutely essential for you and letting go of what we can't control and what no longer serves you. So I'm just going to see if I can answer some questions here. Okay. Casey Mikanowitz, thank you for this. You are a blessing to us. Oh, thank you, Casey. My pleasure. Thank you, Robin. Ginny Cordero, how often can I do it? As far as the acupressure techniques, and this is something, like I said, I'll post in greater detail later this afternoon. You can do it multiple times. I mean, I would say that if you just want to be gentle and you want to intuitively, don't put too much pressure or force to this area. You want to gently hold this, but you can rotate between Central Treasury as well as the Gate of Hope and then Primordial Child. And you just think about what this is doing. It's opening, it's dispersing, it's helping bring good, clean oxygen in and letting you release what no longer serves you. And in that way, it really helps to relax the diaphragm. I still can't see anymore. Let's see if I can scroll up. Oh. Yep. Xiaoyawan to help with liver stagnation. That's a specific herbal formula we have that's fantastic. That's like a wonderful support for these acupressure. And we do carry it in the clinic. So please contact us and let us know if you have any questions. What else can I talk about? Any other questions that I can assist you with? Well, if anyone does, please don't hesitate to contact us. And we are here for you, and we are all part of the community, and we're sending you our love and support. Don't forget that we're going to be doing our Facebook Live at noon. The next one is at Friday, and I'm not sure who it's with. I believe it's with Monica May Liebson. I could be wrong. And then we've got a schedule that you can check out for next week, as well as offering complimentary telesupport and health consultations with patients. So thank you so much. I'm so grateful that I was able to spend this time with you and sending you all my love and light.